I've just bought every single Xbox console ever. Got a TV from the time of each one's release, and even the same game on all of them. So, let's see how the entire gaming experience has leveled up. When the original Xbox
Wait, hold up. This is probably
Xbox hit the stores all the way back in 2001, it hit hard. Gamers were shocked that anyone, let alone an American company like Microsoft, would dare to go toe-to-toe with the Japanese giants that were Nintendo and Sony, who at this point had long established their dominance over the console gaming market. It just sounded like a recipe for disaster, but there was a method to the madness. See, while Microsoft had no experience with consoles, they basically ran the world of PC gaming at the time, thanks to Windows' extremely developer-friendly DirectX app programming interface. But they saw a threat on the horizon, with the announcement that Sony's PlayStation 2 was going to be able to play DVDs and CDs as well as games. Microsoft CEO Bill Gates realized that sooner or later, home consoles were going to overtake the PC as the all-in-one media device, and so they had to act fast and release one of their own if they wanted to stay relevant. The solution? Xbox. Barely fits on my table. Inside you get the power cable, you get an old school TV adapter, the controller. Holy moly, this thing is chunkier than I remember. There's some manuals, and then the console. This is huge! And what Microsoft did here was really clever. They built the Xbox in a very similar way to how you would build a PC, with PC parts like an Ethernet port for online access and a built-in 8GB hard drive, which was the first for any console. And this allowed them to also transfer over that Windows DirectX programming interface to this console, which is actually how we ended up with the name Xbox. And all of this gave the Xbox one huge advantage. It was incredibly easy to bring PC games to it. Oh yeah, and it was also the most powerful console in the world. Microsoft were very aware that they needed to compete with the PlayStation 2 specs to make the Xbox a success, but what they decided to do instead was to completely annihilate them. With literally double the PS2 system memory at 64 megabytes of RAM, Xbox became the obvious choice for the most ambitious developers, like Bungie, who created the most important game in Microsoft's entire history. Halo. I gotta say, something about it really appeals to me. Seamless, hyper-real indoor and outdoor environments. To some extent, they probably knew how much of an impact this game was gonna have. Let's get this console on. I really miss consoles having moving parts like this. It's just so satisfying and tactile. Something about having an old console paired with an old TV, it completes the experience. You can't forget this bad boy over here. I still can't believe this is a legitimate controller that Microsoft actually released. I feel like I'm holding like a boomerang. It definitely makes you feel like you're about to do some serious damage. So what, player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4? This is what I miss about modern gaming. When your friends would just come over to your house, they bring their controllers with them, they plug them into your machine, and you can just play on the couch together. Oh my god. This is such a cool startup animation. Microsoft did such a good job of making this appeal to the gamer. Oh my gosh. They absolutely smashed it with this soundtrack. I'm calling it now, this is going on my funeral. That's a bit dark, actually. Normal difficulty. It's my first time in a while. You know what? Preposterous dimensions aside, this is actually quite comfortable and ergonomic. You can totally see how Halo became such a mainstay. It's a combination of the graphics, the gameplay, the soundtrack. This is way before any kind of motion smoothing tech, so it definitely feels just a little bit laggy compared to modern games. The rumble on the control is fantastic. I remember how cool people found it when you could see the number of bullets left on the gun itself. It shows every single individual bullet that I have in my magazine, and it's all surprisingly legible. The reflections on the gun are really impressive. And then this would like blow people's minds. You press the white button on the top, that becomes a flash. Oh yeah, and then you can also go up close and punch them. And it's just as overpowered as it is today. Oh, I'm dead! R.I.P. The original Xbox went on to sell 24 million units in its lifetime, handily beating Nintendo's GameCube to cement Microsoft as one of gaming's big three players, just after their first console. The crazy thing is though, that despite those sales, Microsoft actually made a loss of $4 billion on the Xbox, just because it was that expensive to produce. But they weren't worried. The Xbox had served its purpose of building the foundations of what would become a complete game changer. The Xbox 360. Now, you might be wondering why they didn't just do the normal thing and call it the Xbox 2. Well, this is around the time when Sony was launching their PlayStation 3. And so instead of making it seem like they were still on 2 and lagging a generation behind, Microsoft decided to just scrap the numbering system and focus on how this Xbox put the user at the center. Get it? like
get a like
360. And the process of actually trying to get a brand new sealed one of these is actually insane. I mean, you can see the entire box is falling apart because it's so old and also probably not stored very well. So, the console's on top this time, there's a few manuals, and then 2 compartments, after which you get absolutely assaulted by accessories. I had no idea there was an Xbox TV remote, the wall adapter, Ethernet cable for internet, a headset included in the box, nice, the TV display cable, the frankly enormous power supply, and then the classic controller. Wow, this is noticeably trimmed down versus its predecessor. It's definitely lost a little bit of that core gamer personality that the first Xbox had, but you can see why they've done it. Everything about this is way more streamlined, from the sleeker shape of both the console and the controller, to the fact that the massive X branding has basically disappeared, all serving the goal of making it a more appealing home media device that even non-gamers would want, which I guess also explains this funny media control remote. The 360 dwarfed its predecessor in the specs department, at roughly 8 times the raw processing power, with 512 megabytes of RAM, helping it to display far more graphically intensive games natively at 720p resolution. Being a PC company first, Microsoft was far more experienced than Sony and Nintendo in internet devices. And so, they used this advantage to make sure that this Xbox had the fastest internet hardware, and that Microsoft's online servers were the most reliable. And while the original Xbox did also have some online capabilities,
this is me playing Albion Online for 3 days versus 30 days. 3 days into the game, I have to say I was quite lost. The game is huge and I didn't know where.
with the 360, they built online into the core DNA of it. You could buy music, you could stream TV, you could download movies. This was really the beginning of true online competitive gaming. Plus, rather than making each game its own separate online experience, Microsoft realized that if they could instead create a single profile system that could reach across all games, with achievements and gamer score that a player could accumulate to show their friends how good of a gamer they are, they would garner far more loyalty to the console. This is why the 360 shipped with a headset right out the box. Microsoft wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to jump online and get fully invested in the Xbox ecosystem. Oh yeah, and it also had Halo 3, which is still considered one of the greatest video games of all time. Wow, it's actually kind of weird to be holding a normal-sized controller in my hand. It's just so comfortable in comparison. And then this was like the party trick of the generation. Hold that Xbox button and wirelessly turn that on. It's so cool seeing that green disc slowly pulse to life. It is not a quiet machine though. I've owned several room fans that make less noise than that. That is iconic. And they're just flexing the 3D power of this console. So this middle button is like your portal to the online features. There's so many things to do here. This is such a great user interface for a console. It's colourful, it's fast, it's clear, and I guess most importantly, it keeps you connected to your friends. It kind of feels a bit like a PC that you'd connect to your TV. It's even actually got the Windows logo here. I really wish the online servers were still up. All those kids spending their entire evenings screaming obscenities at people's moms. Good times. Okay, so straight away you can notice the higher resolution of this. It's also got a little bit of that motion blur, so panning around feels more fluid. There's also so much unexpected freedom from just being wireless. Even the character's walking animation is much more human. Still miss the fact that you can't scope in by holding the left trigger, like you can on most modern first-person shooters. Headshotting